Buying influence in players is probably my favourite part of Soccerverse. Finding a player before everyone else, watching his rating improve and earning dividends from his real life performances is what the game is all about for me. I believe understanding the Soccerverse Scoring Matrix will give you one of the biggest edges if you want to buy low, sell high and earn more dividends. In this video, I will explain how the scoring matrix works, show you 3 examples of players that I've invested in, and finally explain why I spend most of my time looking for players who are still rated in their 50s. So let's get stuck into it. Before we look at the scoring matrix, here's my philosophy. I only scout the English lower leagues because that is the football I know best. I'm looking for regular starters producing the stats that Soccerverse rewards most in the game, which is key. If they then fit the scoring matrix and I believe they're undervalued, I buy influence before the next rating update. This strategy is all about investing in players before their rating improves in the next update. So there are 3 main scorings: tackling, passing and shooting. So I'm going to start with the tackling scoring matrix. As you can see, players can earn a maximum of 20 tackling points, and that is split between these categories. As you can see, 60%, 12 points of those tackling skill points are awarded for players who win their duels. Other points are awarded then for minutes played, interceptions, tackles, blocks, etc. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. When I'm scouting defenders, I want regular starters who consistently win their duels. Now the example I'm going to show you in a minute is junior Eccleston, who I've recently bought influence in. Before I do that, I want to show you the API site soccerratings.org, and this is where Soccerverse get their statistical information from, and this is how players' real life performances in-game rating is generated. So simple really. When I'm on the player database, I sort it into the country of England, obviously, because that's where my players are going to play in real life. And the players that I have scouted at this minute in time, they're all going to be playing in League 2 this season. So I want to know what players are the highest rated in League 2. And secondly, if I break it down into defenders, and I'm going to use centre-back in this example, because I firmly believe centre-backs will win more duels than any other defensive position. And as you can see, once I've sorted that, the highest rated division or League 2 players in-game rating is 73. So as I've already explained, 60%, 12 out of 20 points will be awarded on that player's dual success. So if we click into him, you can see he has a percentage which is elite for that level of football. He wins 67.5% of his duels. So that gives me a pretty good average of what I should be looking for in players, or what I'm going to be hoping for players are going to achieve. I've set a target of 60% or over. And if I go down this list, all these players, their dual success is in the high 60s. So that confirms to me what the scoring matrix is saying. The high majority of the score will come from that one skill. Now, as you can see, both of these defenders I've pointed out, the top 2, are 30 years of age. So they're experienced lads who've probably been around the block a bit, and they're dominant League 2 centre-halves. My aim is to identify a lot of younger players who I believe will become what these guys have become, and hopefully and possibly better players, so their rating goes even higher. Now, junior Eccleston is the first example I'm going to show you. You can see he's only rated 52 at this moment in time. That is purely because he was playing for Sutton in the National Conference last season. so none of his stats will count because the API doesn't track specific stats that Soccerverse need in conference football. In England, it's League Two or higher. However, after researching this player, I know that last season in the National Conference, he won 58.3% of his duels, and he was a regular starter for Sutton. Now, that is almost 10% less than those two examples I gave you in League Two. However, Junior is only 19 years of age, so he has many years to develop into a strong, commanding centre half. I've also got to take into account that he's taken a step up in the level of football because he's obviously jumping the league, so his stats might deteriorate from last season. But I'm quite confident what I've read up about him, he's quite a commanding centre half, that in time that his duels won percentage will increase into the 60s, and that's what I want, because ultimately that's going to affect his in-game rating, and which will have an effect on dividends, etc. So that is the reason I've bought Junior Eccleston. Now, the passing scoring matrix is quite clear to me. 16 points, 80% of the maximum 20 points available comes from one statistic, and that is passes per minute. Dribbles, key passes, and pass accuracy make up the other 20% or 4 points. So again, I keep it really simple. When I'm looking for midfielders, I'm looking for midfielders who play every week and constantly get on the ball and pass. Now again, going back to soccer ratings, if I break it down, you can break it down to a DMC, AMC. Ultimately, you're either looking for a deep lying playmaker, in midfield, who is just constantly passing the ball. And if you do that, you can see the highest rated is 75 for League Two. Now, the first player who comes up on my list who is awarded 20 points for passing is that number of passes he's making in those minutes. It's a phenomenal, again, it's an elite level at this level of football. So it just confirms that the score rating Soccerverse use is for the passing is just the number of passes. Now, of course, on these examples, midfielders might get the majority of their points from tackling rather than passing. But for the example I'm using, because of the percentage is so high, I specifically just nailed down players who keep pass, basically, because it's such an important stat. Now, the example I'm going to show you for this one is Alexander Hunt. He is 26, which is not normally an age I would buy. I like to buy them younger. However, once I seen his stats, I had to buy him quite simply. Now, again, this boy was playing in the National Conference last season, so his scores will not have updated because the stats don't count. But as soon as he starts playing this season, providing he can maintain the sort of level that he was doing in the conference, then I would be amazed come December that this guy's rating doesn't improve quite dramatically. And the reason I say that is because if you look at his stats, he played almost every game, every minute of every game, and his passing was nearly 0.7, which is a phenomenal rate, especially at that level. I just want to give you a comparison. Now, I'm not for 1 minute suggesting he's on Pedri's level, but Pedri playing for Barcelona, his passes per minute rate is about 0.95, I believe. So, like I said, at that level, that passing or passes per minute is phenomenal. And I truly will be amazed if he performs these sort of figures in League Two. Then come December, I'm looking for quite a big rise off that player. So finally, we come to the shooting scoring matrix. Players again can earn up to 20 points. The biggest Contributing factor of those 20 points is goals per minute. That is 8 points, 40% of the total. A big chunk then goes down to minutes played, 4 points for shots on target and 2 for assists. So my biggest takeaway when scouting strikers, goals matter, but also being on the pitch matters as well. What I mean by that, to be on the pitch for as long as possible. So again, if you go back to soccer rating, sorted into strikers, you will have confirmation by clicking into players what matters here, and that is shots, goals, assists, etc. So again, when I'm scouting for strikers, to repeat myself, the two things I look for in particular is goals, and they start and stay on the pitch for the majority of the time. The example here is Josh Stones. As you can see at this moment, his in-game rating is 55. Again, he was playing for York in the conference last season, so none of the stats were counted towards a score. So providing he starts for York next season, which I believe he will, and he has the similar sort of rate of goals that he had last season, again, I would expect a fairly big increase on his rating in December. The reason I say that, and it's a big if, because again, he's going up one league, so the quality of defender he's going to face is going to be a little bit better, but he is averaging 1 goal every 134 minutes, which makes him an elite striker at this level. I believe it's better than any stats from last season in League Two. So I'm expecting big things from him. He signed a 5-year contract with York in real life as well. So if he gets a move and he starts banging him in at a higher level, then it's a win-win. Now, before I move on, it's just worth mentioning that this isn't the entire Soccerverse rating system. There are other factors involved, such as smoothing, limits, and age-related adjustments. But for scouting purposes, I believe understanding the core scoring matrix gives you the biggest edge, and that's the framework I use when looking for new investments. If you would like to learn more about the other parts of the rating system, I recommend you checking out the official Soccerverse Discord and the official documentation, where they'll explain topics like smoothing, limits, and the rest of the rating mechanics in much more detail. I don't want to go through them because I don't want this video dragging on for like 2 hours or something, because it is quite a complex subject. But what I believe I'm covering is the base and the most important in getting people to buy their influence in players and hopefully see a rise. So why do I spend most of my time looking for players who are still rated in the 50s? This is why. Let's say I buy influence in a player who's rated 55. His weekly wage is 1,375 SVC. If, and it's a big if, he develops into a 75 rated player, his weekly wage will increase to 23,111 SVC. That's almost 17 times more than when I bought him. Now, I'm fully aware not every player that I buy influence will increase at all, but they don't all have to anyway. When the upside is so big, a handful of successful investments can make a huge difference to mine or your portfolio. This is my strategy, and this is how I play Soccerverse. Hopefully, this video has helped you understand the Soccerverse scoring matrix and gives you an insight into how I scout players. This isn't the only way to invest on Soccerverse. I will be covering other topics such as investing in clubs, etc. However, on a personal note, I'm excited to see how the players I've invested in will develop over the coming seasons. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all those good stuff. And again, any comments, please leave below. I'm fully aware that these videos visually aren't exciting. I had a comment on my last video and I totally agree. However, I'm not a young whiz kid. I'm a middle-aged man loving this game and trying to create the best content I possibly can. So please bear with me. But thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.